Hey guys, welcome to a very special episode of A Bugs Need Heroes. We're doing something a little unconventional, a little different from our usual format. We're just going to talk about Spider-Verse and what we think is coming up, what we want to see, and maybe a little primer on what these characters are about and what they do. I hope you enjoy.
What does that sound, Amanda?
I think she's opening air freshener.
Oh, it's Hawaiian breezy. Oh, it's intense. Oh, it might be too much. Hello, friends and fiends. Welcome to Bugs Need Heroes, a podcast where an artist and an entomologist team up to illustrate the inspiring abilities of insects by creating a bug-themed superhero. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Kelly.
Before we get started creating this bug-themed hero, what's bugging you, Kelly?
So normally I don't have complaints, but I have a complaint today.
Yes, I'm so excited. Complain to me.
Arby's had this promotional Dungeons and Dragons dice, and they sold out in 10 seconds because
10
bots
seconds.
bought them all.
No.
I logged in just before 11 when they were supposed to come in. I got a pair of dice in my shopping cart. I pressed purchase. It put me in a queue. Gone. No, so everyone's complaining about it. I don't think a real person actually got to buy a pair of dice.
I'm sure not.
I think it's all scalper bots.
Yeah, the scalper bot thing with, like, I think that we don't need to get into the Swiftie discourse, but I think the Taylor Swift thing was like a whole thing with the bots and Ticketmaster, and yeah,
they're trying to sell these $12 Arby's dice on eBay for $400.
Yeah,
you're gonna get lost. No way.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I talked about it a little bit with you
to Arby's on Instagram, and I'm like, give us the dice, make enough for everyone. Clearly, we all want to buy them. Stop doing limited runs because no one
just
wins
make dice. Yeah,
just make the dice. Let me have some Arby's dice for my Dungeons and Dragons games. It's not that hard. It's fun. It's a cute little stupid thing.
Yeah.
Let me have it.
Let me have the meat dice.
Let me have meat dice. Arby's has the meat. They don't have the dice.
They don't have the dice. It's funny. Arby's has been one of those brands that has really leaned into who really actually eats at our restaurant. My air quotes being
who's our real target demographic.
And they've had a lot of, like, their Twitter is like full of anime memes and stuff. And you're like, who's doing this? And I'm for it. I think
Wendy's has like funny. A similar
Wendy's
social
went with
media
like
person.
A person who is terminally online acts this way, whereas Arby's has gone kind of the what do people who are terminally online enjoy. And it's a lot of, like, I think they had like Attack on Titan, but like in a sandwich not that long ago. It's like, oh, okay, Arby's.
I can't tell you the last time I ate Arby's, and it's not because I wouldn't. I enjoy an Arby's. I just think there's not really one very close to me. But I want those dice. I want them for my dice collection because I have... listeners don't know this about me, but I have a vast Dungeons and Dragons dice collection. So
as you should.
So Amanda, what's bugging you?
I don't know if it counts as bugging me. I mean, technically, I guess it bugged me. I think I said a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, that like the ants have come. The ants.
Ants. It is that time of year. The male ants have been flying into me.
But I had a bug rescue the other night. I think I sent a picture to you in the chat.
I loved it.
Let me regale you with the tale. It's not particularly intense. So the children go to bed, and as you know, as I've just explained to you, I'm in the cellar. And in the cellar is where my husband Cody keeps his workout materials. He keeps, there's like I don't know the names of any of this stuff. A barbell.
I saw some dumbbells back there, some plates.
A bench upon which he does presses. A rack of weights. I believe this one's called a Total Gym, as sold by Chuck Norris.
Ooh.
Whatever. The point is, after the kids go to bed is our time to do grown-up things such as work out. And Cody comes down to the sweat dungeon and does this little I want to be healthy thing. I was going to bed. I was not interested in that. So I'm like fully in bed and I get a text message from Cody. There's a bee down here. And he sends a picture and it's a bumblebee. And I'm
Aw,
like, oh, a bombus. Look how cute it is. You know, whatever. And
our
Cody's like,
friend.
what do I do? I'm like, what do you mean? What do you do? It's like in the cellar, you know? So he sends me a picture. He says, what do I do? I say, it can't hurt you. It's just a bumblebee. I know you've listened to the bumblebee episode, Cody. You should know.
He should be a pro by now.
Honestly. And I'm like, it won't hurt you. You can just scoop her up and take her outside. And he comes, I hear thump, 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 and the door swings open and in comes Cody. And he's like, I can't touch it. Oh. I'm like, why not? And he's like, it's so gross. Oh, it's so gross. I'm like,
oh, they're so cute.
I mean, he came in here like it was a scorpion the size of a rat.
It's not a big house centipede. It's an adorable fuzzy bumblebee.
And I'm like, okay. So I like get out of bed. I go get a cup and a piece of junk mail and I head down to the cellar. And sure enough, it's about, I mean, she was probably an inch, maybe even an inch and a half
about
long.
right.
I looked it up later. I think it was a queen because that's the only thing that really makes sense of why she'd be down here. But you know, she sees me coming and the cellar is cold. You know, it's nighttime.
Aw.
And it's cement. She's on the cement. So she's like, oh no.
Oh, very slow.
I gotta get away. You know, she's moving so slow. But I just wait for her till she's on like an advantageous spot and I scoop her up, put her in the cup, and she's in the cup and she's like, oh no, I've been captured. and
poor girl.
Cody is flipping out like I have like I said, like a tarantula in my hands. This is how he's acting. And I'm like, relax, it's gonna be okay. Like, you're stressing me out more than this bee is. It's okay. She's sedated by the cold. It's fine. So I take her upstairs. And this is where I might have been inappropriate. But I'm not sure what the best way to get her out of the cup is.
Mm-hmm. Just slide her out.
I'm sure that would have been.
Or you just leave the cup outside and
right.
get it in the morning and she'll exit on her own.
So I just kind of leaned down to a grassy spot. And then I went, ha! And I just kind of tossed her well, I didn't launch her far. It was probably about 4 inches off the ground. Like, it wasn't far. But me making the noise, ha! Cody thought I just thrown a bee right in his face. He was like, oh, oh, oh! And I just like starts running for the house. You know, I think this podcast has done a lot of things for me personally. I don't know that it's helped Cody with his bug fear in any way, other than he's just like.
We'll have to interview Cody at some point about his fear.
I think
of bugs.
we really will have to So why are you scared of bugs?
Maybe I can help him as a quote unquote expert. Perhaps.
So in our wedding vows, I promised to be the one to take care of any spiders because he's legitimately scared of spiders. And the other day there was one in the bathroom, and I got it. You know, unfortunately, she had to go. And I turn around and there's like a whole struggle of getting it off the shoe, blah, 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 blah. And then I turn around and go, all right, a job well done. And like lock eyes with a second spider. And I was like, come on, guys.
What kind of spiders?
Any idea? I don't know. They were like the splaly kind that live in your house.
Were they on a web?
They were not on a web. Straight up on the wall.
Were they kind of light in color?
Yeah.
We get a lot of yellow sack spiders.
Yeah, I've had
those
on
your
guys
ceiling
before,
and your wall. What was it? Those?
I don't know. It was a little brown.
Sorry,
guy.
I'm just always curious.
But it brought me to a spider question, which is perhaps a sadness. But I whapped that puppy with my shoe, as unfortunately I had to choose to do because it was just time. But I picked up my shoe after, and a perfect dusty imprint of the spider existed on the shoe, which made me think, I gotta ask Kelly if spiders are dusty or like otherwise scaly in a way that would leave this
Just
perfect, pristine outline of a spider on my shoe.
I mean, they're it kind of depends on what spider it was. Spiders are really furry, so I could see maybe like a bunch of hair. I can't think of a particularly dusty species.
I just don't know what it would
But
be.
maybe was it in a dusty part of your house? Was the spider actually dust covered? Where did he come from?
He was in the bathroom, and the bathroom is one of the few places in my house that probably gets wiped down on
It's
a
not
consistent
dusty.
basis because it's always moist in there. So I'm always trying to like combat the moisture on my wood walls.
Yeah, I'm not really sure without knowing what spider it was, so I could think about it a little better. I don't have a good answer for that dusty question.
Wow.
Sorry to disappoint.
Well, I just, you don't think of
Because usually the spiders in the bathroom are cellar spiders, which have like gangly legs and little tiny tic tac bodies. But I wouldn't consider them dusty.
Sure. Well, I just think about like butterflies. You don't think of butterflies as scaly.
Phloxidae, I think, is the genus.
Yeah.
Yeah, but butterflies, their wings are all scales.
Yeah, and you don't think of a butterfly being scaly unless you happen to know a lot about butterflies. So I just thought maybe spiders are dusty, and I just didn't know this whole time.
I don't know. No one's ever asked me a dusty spider.
Well, as you know, I'm here to ask you questions that no one has ever asked you before.
You're here to challenge me on a regular basis.
All you scientists out of touch with the common man. I'm here to ask you common man questions.
I mean, it could have been silk. Maybe it was like a bunch of silk.
It did release an attempt to escape amount of silk when I came at it.
Yeah, it could have just been a bunch of silk that kind of looked like dust after the squash happened.
Okay, because I was just thinking maybe we should go back to that spider episode and add dust to Peter Parker's power set.
Is Peter dusty?
He's a dusty boy. He's always living in people's attics. Nasty little Peter Parker. But speaking of Peter Parker and dusty boys, by the time this episode drops, it'll be Spider-Verse time.
Oh yeah.
I watched
the new trailer this morning in preparation for the episode, and it looks fun.
It does look good. I'm very excited. I will now, at the detriment of my future self, say that the Lord Miller team up for direction on movies might be my favorite director.
Really?
Yeah. They really always seem to hit my personal taste in movie, like my personal funny bone. I don't know if we just like had similar, I think maybe it's the ADHD, I don't know, but they were very, very informative of my sense of humor as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's all it is like I recognize their brand of humor because I have been watching it for so long.
Right. It's very familiar.
It's very familiar, but they did Clone High, which is getting a reboot, which is a whole nother topic of conversation that I have opinions about. But like Clone High is on the more inappropriate end for them. But they did like Cloudy with a Chance at Meatballs, which was very informative of young me on what's funny. Mitchell and the Machines versus the Machines. If you haven't seen Mitchell versus the Machines,
I have not. I believe that I am in an age group just above all this stuff.
Probably.
So I've not seen it because I'm a little bit older than you.
I don't know if both of them are Scrubs or just one of them is Scrubs, or if just their wife is on
you're thinking
Scrubs.
of a different producer
Miller?
on Clone High.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I would recommend Mitchell versus the Machines. It's just about a family trying to get through a robot apocalypse, but the accoutrement, yeah, the like setup of how that happens and like how they survive is interesting. And it's a kids movie, so like spoiler alert, everything turns out fine.
Yeah.
But really what it is it's a story about a teenage girl who no longer gets along with her dad, and how both the dad and the teenage daughter want to get along but aren't sure how to because of how different they are. And like the robot apocalypse helps them realize that they do still love each other so much. It's a good movie. I would recommend. In fact, I am right now.
You are, yeah. I would give it a try, I guess. Yeah.
The younger brother is a dinosaur kid, which is very funny.
Oh, that was me. I was a dinosaur kid.
Same.
I had memorized lots of genus and species names for dinosaurs, and I was that kid. And my uncle was a biology teacher in New York City, and he would take me to like the museums and stuff. And
I want to go to the Natural History Museum so bad.
You got to come out here. I'll take you.
And didn't they just did a new replica of her with lips? Because now they say T-Rex has lips.
I think you're thinking of the Chicago Field Museum.
That's the Chicago Museum.
Oh, am I?
Too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Natural History Museum does have a T-Rex at the front.
In the opening, yeah.
And it's like hunting. It's being a T-Rex.
Oh, dinosaurs.
But dinosaurs.
so today we are covering the trailer and the lead up to the new Spider-Verse movie, because obviously we have not seen it yet.
What do we need to know?
Out. In preparation for this episode, I read 50 plus comic books about various characters.
Getting your money's worth out of that Unlimited subscription.
Yes. Yeah, I have the Marvel Unlimited subscription, and I think I just paid for it several times over in this week alone by deep diving into Spider-Woman. I watched some of the 1979 Spider-Woman TV show, which is on Disney Plus. Oh, it is something.
That one's wild.
It's
They're like,
a lot.
How do we tell this story by only using 12 pictures of Spider-Woman in succession?
It was so strange. Although we did get some like villains that we all recognize now, like Kingpin is in a couple episodes, and Dormammu. Yeah, Dormammu's in an episode. There's a lot going on there. Would I recommend it? No.
No.
I would not. Oh, no. She also fights Dracula, which was quite the and some Viking ghosts. That was weird.
It's funny how sometimes
it's like Scooby-Doo and Spider-Woman had a baby.
Yes. It's definitely leaning into that Scooby-Doo energy for sure. But with about maybe a quarter of the budget. And think about how cheaply Scooby-Doo is animated, and then quarter that budget. But yeah, it's funny what like common use, people, what is that word when everything's able to be used? Is it free? Fair use. The free use, whatever it is. When like a property can be used by anyone. Which ones Marvel was like, yeah. Just that's part of the Marvel universe now. And Dracula is one of those. Where they're just like, yeah, Dracula's real. He's real in the MCU or at least the Marvel 616. He's around. He's bitten several of the X-Men at various times. I think Jubilee was a vampire at one point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's great. Dracula actually has a nation of vampires now, and they live in the Chernobyl quarantine zone. And they have a UN
Marvel. What are you doing?
ambassador.
What are you doing? Too far. I think they've gone too far.
And Blade is a cop there to like keep them all in line. I'm a little behind on my Jason Aaron Avengers, but it was some great vampire stuff.
Oh,
yeah, it's like when Captain America was a werewolf for part of the 90s. And you're like,
oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Excuse me? Captain America's a what? But I'd say you've gone too far, Marvel, is the dangerous line that every Spider-Verse event like really dances around. I think Spider-Verse shows the great potential of comics while also exemplifying its biggest downfalls.
Yeah, I have a hard time with multiverse anything because it kind of makes nothing matter.
Exactly.
Nothing matters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When Endgame was coming out and they were, starting to flirt with the idea of, I could see where the writing on the wall was. It was gonna get turned into a multiverse event. And I remember being like, guys, this is a mistake. Don't do this, because I think nothing speed runs oops, we have to reset the universe quite like introducing a multiverse to any property.
Yeah.
I'm gonna push back here. I don't
Oh,
usually
really?
talk on the podcast, but
We're gonna do
No,
like some true comics discourse today.
the multiverse allows, because anything can happen, it means that your choices are the most important thing, because otherwise
Interesting.
they don't matter. Like, you can see that as, oh, everything is happening, so it doesn't matter at all. And I'm not phrasing this very well, but because of that, it's kind of freeing in that you get to choose what matters to you and make that happen.
Except there are ripples that extend out to every universe when they're all connected like that.
I think that's more my question.
Kind of also makes nothing is going to work the way you want it to, and to me, it's a little bit. It allows for lazy writing in comic books.
I think that's my problem with
very lazy writing.
Is it either it allows very lazy writings because they can do sex machina anything that they need from an alternative universe, but also I think it's one of those things where I don't like time travel movies, because I feel like time travel movies do not appropriately contend with what changes a single choice would make.
Yeah,
like you can't.
And then they can't really.
Yeah,
they can't.
And so with multiverse, I think it's the same thing, where it's like, oh, if you change this one thing, everything's the same except for this one thing. I'm like, but would it be though? And like that just gets out of hand really, really quickly. So either you're lazy and you change nothing, or you go too far and you try to change everything with all these interconnected strings, and it gets so complicated so fast. I'm like, this isn't easy. This is supposed to be fun, you guys. I don't want to have to think this hard about what's going on in the comics.
I think the wilderness is a valid criticism, but when you have infinite versions of Peter Parker, it's the Peter Parker that you know that matters, and that doesn't change even though there's more Peter Parkers, because if a new Peter Parker comes, that's not your Peter Parker. Does that make sense?
But he's still Peter. So he's still my Peter, because all Peters are my Peter.
Yeah, but like if that
I love Peter Parker in all of his forms.
We can't just swap out Peter for Ben Reilly and have that be the same person, even though they have the same powers and things. You can tell the same sorts of stories with them. They're still different characters, and I'm still attached to the one I've been reading for 10 years or whatever.
Which is why you get such major pushback when you make tiny changes to characters' histories or whatever. It's because I like this Peter Parker.
I recently watched No Way Home, so I watched that last weekend for the first time. Adorable.
For the first time? You haven't seen No Way Home till just now?
Yes. I am very behind on my Marvel watching. Because my husband is not into this as I am, so it kind of takes a lot to go, can we watch a Marvel movie this weekend? Although now that I have the podcast, he's a lot more willing to watch it, because I'm like, it's for the pod.
It's for the podcast, babe.
And he'll say, okay, fine, it's for the podcast. But yeah, so we just watched it, and I enjoyed having all three of these Spider-Men, all three of these Peters, who I am attached to, because I've enjoyed all of the Spider-Man movies, kind of come together, and the three of them are unique, but they're all very much Peter.
They're all different facets of the same Peter.
But I think Peter is always Peter, regardless of which one he is, which is interesting.
Right. Yeah, I think if you have a character whose core essence can be consistent that way, you've written a character that can stand on their own.
Yeah.
Like changing his circumstances minorly, really, this way or that way. And he's still the same, like, heart of gold nerd. Like, you've written a good, consistent character. Because I think that No Way Home was the weakest plot-wise of the three movies, but it's worth every weakness in the plot for those three Peters interacting with each other.
To be together and ultimately to do the right thing and try to save the bad guys.
Peter consistently
killing them.
Goes too far to save his rogues gallery, which is what makes Peter Peter, though. Everyone who's watching that movie is going, just let him die, Pete.
Pete, they're bad guys. Just give it up.
They're bad guys, Peter. Just let it happen. Like, it wasn't you, Peter. There's a difference between like intervening and actively, being the one to do it, Peter. Like, it's okay, Peter. But
I mean, what are the consequences of that once they go back to their world?
Right.
This is the
we have no
problem
idea.
with the multiverse. Yeah. What happened there? What about the other Peters? Did they change? Are they not the same now? Do they remember that they were in this universe? Right. I don't know.
And the answer
too much to think about.
Consistently is the comics write it inconsistently.
Yeah.
For some writers, the answer would be yes, of course they remember. But for other writers, it would be, we got to set back at issue 0. None of this can affect how he behaves. Right.
Yeah.
And that might be the constraint of the medium, is that we got to get back to issue 1. We got to get back to a spot where someone new can pick up this book and read about Peter Parker and not need to know all this. Because there was a while there, like, where they had those little boxes that were like, see issue 127, for background information. And they don't want to do that anymore. They want you to be able to pick up a new run and read that new run.
Yeah.
Which I think is fair.
I think we're going to reset as well, because I'm thinking some of this multiverse stuff is going to get kind of bogged down, and I want this to be a bit more of a breezy episode focusing
That's true. Okay,
sure.
so are we going to write all the way to 0? Or
I just want to have all the options for editing.
Fair.
Yeah,
fair enough.
That's fair.
We did get very discoursey. Okay, so we talked about, at my house, the big TV show is, of course, Spidey and His Amazing Friends. I don't know if you're familiar.
I haven't watched any episodes, but that's the one where they're all like little kids, right?
They're like 9, maybe 10.
Okay.
It's unclear. It's unclear how old they are. But consistently, Spider-Man has had friends. That is one of his big consistent markers.
He's a friendly sort.
He's a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Yeah. But in the Spider-Woman show, there's the inverse of that being Spider-Man, I think, and it's also His Amazing Friends, but it was like Firestar and Iceman. Was it Iceman?
I think so.
And Firestar, I think Firestar is created for that television show because they couldn't get the rights to Johnny Storm. Which Johnny Storm, Bobby, and Peter running around, that just sounds like a mode of chaos. Like, they would solve no issues, the three of them.
They're too silly.
They're all they need someone
silly
on the
boys
team to be like, guys.
running around.
But the modern iteration of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends is Peter Parker, Gwen Stacy, and Miles Morales all existing in the same universe, and they're all friends, and they do no background work to explain how that happened. That's just how it is. Okay? Don't think about it. This is for 4-year-olds. They're all just in the same universe.
They're just hanging out.
This is a post-Spider-Verse world. They just all exist in the same timeline, which comics have to do all this flipping around to try and get these 3 characters to be together.
In the wild, there are social spiders, so it kind of works. I don't think we talked about this in the Spider-Man episode. We talk about it when we do our Comic-Con panel, though.
And the image in my head is probably from our Comic-Con panels, is the trees, and they're just absolutely smothered in webs. They've taken over. Like a whole street is nothing but spider webs, which sounds horrifying.
Yeah, they all live together. I forgot what the species is called. I think there's a couple of them, and they work together. They make these huge webs to catch food. And they catch so much food, they don't have to compete with each other, so they just kind of hang out.
Oh, that's fun. That's a little spider hangout. I like that.
If everybody gets fed, you don't have to eat each other, because spiders are cannibalistic and they will eat each other.
Yeah. If only the world at large could learn from the spiders. When everyone gets fed, we don't have to eat each other.
Yeah. So Peter having all these friends kind of works.
It kind of works out
on a spider level.
He kind of swings in between being a lonely boy and having lots of friends. and it kind of is there in between. He either has so many friends, or he, like at the end of No Way Home, is all alone, no friends. They've all forgotten who he is.
Oh, that was so sad. The
So
ending
sad.
of No Way Home was so sad.
Sadness.
I just wanted to hug Peter, tell him it's going to be okay.
Especially after the high highs of watching him interact with Toby and Andrew. Yeah. You're like, oh, I'm crushed.
I hope they remember him.
I hope their somewhere own universe. Their own universes where they can't interact with him. They seem to have undone some of that for the new Spider-Verse movie that's coming out. It seems like Gwen may have some control over the portals, but I think that's what the trailer wants us to think.
Looks like.
I think it's actually Miguel who has control over the portals.
Oh, speaking of Miguel, I read the entire run of 1993 to 1996 Spider-Man 2099, 38 issues. Thank you, Marvel Unlimited.
Got your eyes wide.
It was hard.
It's hard. Some of those 90s comics are hard to read. Not necessarily story-wise, although also story-wise. I mean, everything that was the 90s, they're gritty. So dark. I think it's like on page 2 of that initial issue is like inpatient death. You know, like it's like intense from go, and like the coloring is very intense.
The coloring was weird.
Yeah, the panel density is intense
to use, and that was about it.
Well, that's more than usual for a comic.
Yeah. It reminded me of, so I'm a big Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
But the setup of the world reminded me of like the gritty underbelly of Coruscant.
Yeah. Yeah. It had some real, for me, it was all Blade Runner. It had some real Blade Runner. Fifth Element hadn't come out yet, but that sort of, Fifth Element is also clearly copying some Blade Runner stuff.
Yeah.
But that like gritty, 100 years from now, we'll all be servants to corporations.
Oh man, the anti-corporation
sentiment
was very high. Producer Derek is mentioning Judge Dredd too. Definitely.
Oh yeah, Judge Dredd. Yeah, all those 90s sort of. That's the only way I can describe it is that noise. Do the robots dream?
And everyone in the comic was unlikable. Not a single likable character.
Yeah.
They were all terrible.
I mean, Peter makes some questionable choices throughout his run of being Spider-Man. Some worse than others. But at least
Miguel,
he holds on to being likable. Miguel is unlikable from page 1 to page 5,000. That dude makes choices. You're like, why, Miguel? Why would you do this? And then he turns around and is like, oh, so unfair.
Yeah.
So hard to be Spider-Man. So he's held on to that Spider-Man trait, that it's so hard to be Spider-Man. It's like, Miguel, no one's making you do this. You're doing this.
The only redeeming factor about Miguel is that Oscar Isaac is voicing him in the new movie.
I hope that Oscar Isaac can insert some likability into Miguel.
From the trailer, he looks like he's probably the bad guy.
I think he is.
Which
I don't think
works because Miguel stinks. So
stinky Miguel. I think he will start as a good guy, and then there will be a heel turn at some point, because I think he's gonna try and get Miles in, and then turn around and be like, well, actually, Miles, this is what I'm actually doing, and if you get in the way of that, it'll be a problem. And I think, like Peter in No Way Home, Miles is going to be like, whoa, you can't do that. That's unethical. And Miguel will be like, greater good, bro.
We're Spider-Man.
Right.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be a greater good.
I think it will be. Because I think
and Miguel is not
of it.
going to be a super villain, but Miguel will probably have ideas.
He'll have alternative goals.
That are probably not great. Yeah.
That he is prioritizing over all else. You know, I gotta stop Alchemax from doing this. Yeah. And Miles is like, yeah, but is murdering the founder of Alchemax when he's a baby the right choice? Yeah, I gotta get rid of Alchemax. You know, like that sort of stuff, you know? So I anticipate that it'll be that. It'll be a heel turn for Miguel when Miles figures out what it is he's actually trying to do by collecting all these.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they're doing a a loose interpretation of the Spider-Verse event from, what was that, 2012? No, it was earlier than that.
Oh, I don't remember.
Maybe 2004?
Well, I'm going to cut this part so I can tell you guys.
Yeah, what is it?
There's like no way they're adapting the actual Spider-Verse event, as it is bonkers. It involves
That's why
energy vampires coming to steal the life force of spider totems.
Right. I'm going to explain in a second. I'll explain in a moment. But whenever it was, I don't remember precisely what it was. I don't know if you're familiar with the Spider-Verse event at all, Kelly.
I mean, it's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
Remember.
The basic sum up.
My brain is garbled from the amount of comics I've read in the past 2 weeks.
Fair. Sometimes your eyes go cross-eyed in too many comics. The basic sum up is that there's these creatures that want to eat spider people. And there's certain like Nexus level characters that hold down the web of spider event people. And these beings want to eat those spider people.
Oh boy.
I think it's interesting to posit that that some of Peter's powers are not necessarily that he was bitten by a radioactive spider, but rather that he's connected to like this deeper spider force that exists within.
I don't like that. That's weird. That's gone too far. You've gone too far, Marvel.
Yeah, you've gone too far, Marvel is the posit of
it's gonna be the slogan of this episode. Is you've gone too far, Marvel.
You've gone too far, Marvel. But it justifies the existence of like characters like Madam Web, who is a spider themed, omnipotent like Peter, I'm here to give you a lesson. In at least the 90s cartoon, that's how she existed. But this version with Miguel O'Hara, Spider 2099. seems to be taking some of the best parts of Spider-Verse, which was getting to see lots and lots of spider-themed characters, regardless of whether that makes any sense at all, that they're spider-themed. You know, Peter Porker, who's Spider Pig, like that makes no sense.
No,
but that's
I don't care
the joy of
comics.
Cute
and silly, but yeah.
Is that like, yeah, okay, let's take Looney Tunes and give them like X-Men counterparts.
Yeah.
Fine. It's a Spider-Verse.
I do like with I think Miguel has interesting powers.
Yeah. He does not have the typical he doesn't have the typical spider powers, because I would say that Spider-Gwen has Peter's powers being utilized by someone different. So if she has a different power set, it's because she uses her powers differently than Peter does. Whereas Miguel has separate powers.
Well, he's got the venom bite.
Yeah.
Which is
I think that's his most interesting spider power.
Because as we know, most spiders are venomous. Whether they are enough to hurt a person or not is another story. But I would imagine the venom coming from a man-sized spider would be pretty bad.
Yeah, that seems like a lot of venom. And like so he gets the spider powers through an interesting sort of like, oh no, I've been infused with
weird genetic machine. Yeah.
Because again, you're getting into like the not even post-apocalyptic, but like the
super future.
Yeah, the super future where like gene splicing and stuff is pretty commonplace at this point. Like they talk at several points about how like the very first villain is trying to eliminate people with weak genetic codes for like anything from like diabetes to like multiple sclerosis. Like they're like, oh, it's in your genes, you gotta go. Is like that's the very first villain, is kind of a eugenics.
Eugenics.
Mutagen is his name.
Right off the bat. Yeah.
Right off the bat. And like it gets intense immediately. So it seems like gene splicing is just kind of a commonplace thing in 2099, which I think is funny because it's not 100 years in the future, it's like 107 years in the future because it's 1992. It's like, guys.
I think 2099 is just catchy.
Yeah, I think 2099 just sounds better.
Catchy number.
Better than 2092.
It was very this weird dystopian world. Also where the Thorites I thought were very funny.
Oh my gosh, the Thorites are so good.
They were great.
They're like one of the higher points of it. They're like worshiping the god Thor from 100 years ago. I thought it was interesting to posit that like the golden age of superheroes was 100 years ago.
Yeah.
I thought that's an interesting take to set your thing so far in the future that the current heroes are like of myth and legend.
Well, I mean, I guess spoilers if anyone has not read the 1990s run of this. But Thor comes back, and they didn't really explain how or why.
They're just kind of like, he's immortal, it's fine.
And then they never mentioned him again. He was in like one issue or two issues. He did nothing.
He's like a reoccurring thing
and then was gone.
With 2099 because so maybe we should say the 2099 universe is 107 years in the future of the current Marvel run, what was the current Marvel runs in the 90s. And so it has several characters that are like these legacy heroes, the 100 years in the future version, quote unquote, of these characters. It kind of is like a way to soft reboot them, basically. So there's like a Punisher 2099. There's a Hulk 2099. So there's several 2099 versions of things, and they are looking back to the golden age of heroes and trying to replicate what those heroes meant to the world. It kind of implies that without superheroes, the world goes really, really bad, really, really fast, with no one to like keep Alchemax and
I believe
check.
It. Yeah.
Well, I mean, fair enough. And then like they all disappear all around the same time, and that's the end of the golden age of heroes. And you find out later that like there was like a big, event that Miguel goes back in time to stop.
Miguel.
Really?
I did not read the more modern run. So there was a second run of 2099 in like 2005, I think. And I did not get a chance to read that. Did you read any of those?
I read them at the time.
Wondering if they're any better. Were they better than the 90s version?
They are better in that they are more readable. Because
is Miguel more likable, or
no, he's not more likable. Because that's the point where Miguel starts doing things. Oh, maybe it's in the 90s run, but he like steals his brother's girlfriend at one point. And
they mentioned that, he stole her in the 90s one too.
Okay, then and you're like, Miguel, where's the bro code, bro? And like part of it maybe could be subscribed to like, when everyone lives in a terrible world, you do terrible things. Like there's no brocade in 2099 because we're all just trying to get by, okay? We're all just trying to get by.
Well, they did that flashback in the 90s version, and Miguel looks at his brother Gabriel and just says, it wasn't working out between you anyway. Like, what?
Yeah! He just basically tells his brother, sorry I stole your girlfriend, sucks to suck. Like, Miguel!
And he's constantly mean to his brother through the whole. Miguel is just. Yeah.
We're getting way too much like anti-Miguel talk, but let me just say it. Miguel, unlikable.
I like his powers though. Like I said, I like the Venom bite. That's cool. He's got all the regular Spider-Man stuff too, like the agility, the jumping, the
super strength.
I think he's got and he's got the kind of hooked feet.
Yeah.
And
he's got like claw feet and hands. Because they say when he gets spliced, he's 50% spider now. And like the question is that counting the amount of DNA we had in common already? Or is that
I don't know.
Or is that in addition 50%? Because like, 40% of you is a banana. If I said you were 50% banana, is that really only 10% more banana than usual? Or is that, now I'm 90% banana? Like that's the math on that is a little dodgy. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, I mean, it's 90s genetic math,
right?
So
they need him to be a half man, half spider. But even then, he's really only like a third spider, if I'm honest.
I think
he's got like claw feet and hands. He's got venom,
and he can glide kind of, and that comes from the suit.
Yeah, his suit does a lot of work.
He's got camouflage power, and that also comes from the suit.
Right, so, he's got the unstable molecule suit.
It's innate. Miles can just do it, but Miguel needs the suit to do that, which is kind of interesting.
Right. So yeah, Miguel is leaning more on the powers of the unstable molecule suit, whereas Miles has the benefit, which I think some legacy characters do get, which I think I mentioned this in the Spider-Man episode. He gets all of Peter Parker's powers. That's a sentence. He gets all of Peter Parker's powers plus a couple of extras. And he doesn't lose any.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to exchange any powers to get new ones.
He just has them.
He just has bonus powers. So his bonus powers are, he calls it his Venom Strike, but really it's electricity.
Yeah.
He doesn't bite you.
That's not really a spider, an actual spider power.
There's no electric eel spiders running around.
No. I guess the closest thing you could get to is Venom paralyzing the nervous system, which would be,
that's interesting.
I don't know, somewhat similar-ish to an electrical charge on the body.
I think I saw something recently that was talking about spiders utilizing static electricity, but
their webs.
Their
Spider
webs. Okay.
Yeah. Have
so you might be able to argue that
we could
they harness. Yeah.
It's a real big stretch.
Yeah, I'd say it's a big stretch.
But Miles has the camouflage power too, which is cool. And so in the real world, they're crab spiders. You see them on flowers. They kind of like extend their little hands out and kind of wait. And they can become yellow, orange, green to blend in with the flower. And they just wait for a bug to fly in, a pollinator to fly in, and they grab them. And that's just an innate ability that crab spiders have.
So they're doing more of a like, I sit on a yellow flower and I am yellow? Or
they become yellow.
They do become yellow.
Yeah, they can change color.
Oh, see, that's interesting. How long does it take to turn yellow?
They do it pretty quick.
Oh,
it's a pretty fast process.
I thought that was one of the more outrageous powers that they gave Miles, but it turns out maybe
that power slaps. It works.
It works
just like a spider.
So still only the electricity power is the questionable power.
Yeah, we got to do a big stretch to make that one work.
Well, what are you gonna do? Miles doesn't really use his webs in the same way that like Peter, and particularly Gwen. Gwen uses her. Oh no, actually, take that back. Back up. Go back. Miles uses the electricity power because it's like his unique power set. Whereas Spider-Woman, both as Gwen and as Jessica, uses the web to like glide more.
Yeah, there's a lot of gliding going on.
I think Jessica straight up can fly, but I don't know if that is still true or not. Sometimes she can fly, sometimes she can't. I've discussed before that flight is lazy.
I think it's on the suit. Jessica has like suit webbing. She can't actually shoot. Jessica can't shoot webs. She's webless.
The comics.
She just has the Venom Blast, which I don't quite understand.
No,
the Venom Blast looks like it can do literally anything.
Anything.
And that's
anything
lazy.
She needs it to do.
That is lazy. Yeah.
Like I wish they would just make her have like a psychic blast, and that's why it's different every time, is because she needs it to do different things.
Yeah.
But none of them have the innate web the way that like the Tobey Maguire web has, like from his wrists. Occasionally Peter will get it.
In No Way Home, where the other two are horrified that it comes right out of Tobey's wrists.
And
that was very cute.
Why does it come out of his wrists? It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, all of them have to use like second. You're gonna hear my like finger slaps of me around.
Amanda is shooting webs right now
everywhere. I shoot spider webs at my family a lot because the same little symbol that you use to shoot your webs, the 2 fingers up, 2 fingers down, and the thumb extended, is the I love you sign in American Sign Language.
Right.
So we will signal it to each other and then shoot each other with webs.
For maximum love.
Maximum love. I'm shooting my webs at you. Well, that's just how it goes. But they all have to use secondary created webs, which I think is funny because like of all the things you think of with the spider, web is definitely one of them. You think that would be more included in their power sets rather than forcing them to create a themed device to carry around with them.
I like that, and also in No Way Home, they brought up, which to me is one of my biggest problems with Spider-Man and webs, is that the webs should come from a spinneret at the base of the abdomen.
Right.
So kind of your butt. And they both, other Peters both say, is it only your wrist? And I think it was a really cute nod to, wait a minute. And he says, it's only my wrists.
It's only
my
the
wrists can do this. Yeah. So that's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sad that it took me this long to watch No Way Home, because what an adorable movie.
I can't. Yeah, it's shocking to me that you haven't just immediately gobbled up every spider.
I love Spider-Man. Yeah, I think he might be. Peter might be my favorite superhero. I mean, He's love Thor. I love Thor for many reasons. Yeah, I love Thor, and I love Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is big. Mm-hmm. Is big for me, but I think Spider-Man might be my favorite.
He's very, even when he's making bad choices, Peter is likable.
He's very likable, yeah.
And I think Miles shares that quality, in that even when he's making choices that you're like, why are you doing that, Miles? You understand his motivation when he's written well, I should say. When he's written well, you understand that he's doing this because he really believes it's the right thing to do. And that, I think, is the Spider family in general. Their strongest trait is that they genuinely want to do good.
People,
even when everyone else is saying, "Why are you doing that? Why would you do that?" Peter in No Way Home. Why are you doing that, Peter? Just let it happen, Peter. Don't ruin your life for this, Peter. But he's gotta. Because he's a Spider-Man, and that means he has to do what he believes is right all the way to the end.
Great power comes great responsibility.
Oh my gosh! Oh, you said it. She said the out loud part. And I think the first Spider-Verse movie does that,
which is great.
And the first Spider-Verse movie really shows how that trait becomes solidified in Miles, at least in that movie version, that he made a promise to Peter to get this done.
Yeah.
And even though it's hard, and all these other spider people are telling him, we can do it without you, he's got to do it because he made a promise, and he's got to do it. He's got to save Brooklyn,
It's what makes Spider-Man continuously compelling every year, nonstop. They just keep remaking them, and it's because he's great.
Right.
It's my love letter to Spider-Man right now.
And I think it's interesting. You can tell how popular a character is and how much it resonates by how quickly the family around him grows. Mm-hmm. The Spider-Man family, you've got Spider-Gwen, you've got Spider-Woman, which is also Spider. I guess she's Ghost Spider now. Ghost Spider, Spider-Woman, Miles' version of Spider-Man. And then once you count the whole Spider-Verse event, you're talking unlimited versions of Spider.
All the Spider-Men, Silk, I think we probably
Silk
in there too.
Mayday Parker's in there.
Spider-Girl,
Lady Spider. I think there's a Lady Spider who shows up in the verse. There's a lot of them, and I think the only one who can really lay claim to that level of family is Batman on the inverse with DC, because the Bat family just keeps on growing.
Yeah.
And I think it just says whatever these stories are about, people resonate with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for the Spider-Verse, it's you got to do the right thing, even though it sucks for you personally. It sucks for you personally as Peter's theme song.
I'm looking forward to the new Spider-Verse movie. I think it's going to be fun. I hope Oscar Isaac, fixes Miguel a little bit. He can.
I hope he will. I think he will. I think he will in the initial part before he does his heel turn. I think he'll have that. Oscar Isaac has a very.
I think there might be a redemption arc for Miguel.
That's very possible. Because again, he's not
a bad guy.
He shares that same thing of he's got to do this because he believes it's right.
Yeah.
The problem is he doesn't share the same level of moral code as Peter does. So he's got the same end goal of I have to do this.
He's fine with collateral damage.
Correct. And maybe that's just how things are in 2099. Okay? Okay? Alchemist has taken over the world. I think Doom, was president in 2099.
Yes, Doom was, for no reason.
For no reason.
And he was a good guy.
Again,
Doom was
I
fairly
would argue
nice.
that Doom is also doing what he thinks is best.
Yeah.
It just so happens that what he thinks is best is
sometimes it's terrorism.
Right, exactly. This is for your good that I'm in charge of you. He's a benevolent dictator, but still a dictator.
Yeah.
His level of benevolence is not the same as what other people's would be.
Yeah,
But
there was a lot of drop-ins in that comic series.
Well, I think they were trying to
what is happening here?
Yeah. They were trying to entice you in to read 2099. Like, look what happened to Doom in 100 years. He's still kicking around somehow. Don't worry about it. And that's before he even gets like god powers, which he gets like, what, 2 decades later? He gets.
And they had Thanatos was in it too.
Yeah.
What a bizarre comic that was.
Very strange.
My brain hurt after reading that.
Fair.
I followed that up with Spider-Woman Origins.
Yes.
So that was issues 1 through 5. Loved. Really enjoyed it.
I think Spider-Woman offers a lot. They kind of co-opted her origin for the Amazing Spider-Man movies, where they imply that Peter is kind of genetically, his parents have been running a genetic experiment on him this whole time, and that's why he's able to get bit and inherit the spider powers, is because he was like already genetically predisposed. Yeah, exactly. That he's been like genetically primed. Where Jessica will sometimes have that origin. Sometimes she'll be like an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. that gets, spider powers purposely injected into her. It kind of,
yeah,
mileage will vary.
This one was her parents were working for Hydra.
Yeah.
And the dad, it happened by accident, but then dad was like, this is great.
Awesome.
Kept experimenting on her. And,
yeah, it always sucks when your parents are Hydra. That's never a good
Hydra supervillains. But then, I only had a chance to read the 5 issues and not past that. But I'm assuming she was offered to be an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
I guess it's going to eventually get into that. I'd like to continue reading those comics because I enjoyed them.
And she
Jessica.
has one of the best original suits. That red suit with the yellow.
Oh, I love it with the yellow.
It's so good. And
almost that third eye triangle.
Yeah, triangle thing. She's got a great origin suit from Jump. She's got a great suit. The Spider family often has great suits. Yes. They're not all winners. I would argue that Miguel's is not as strong, but his face mask is very good. He's got a really good face mask.
Well, Miguel's was like a weird ripoff of Day of the Dead stuff. I didn't care for that.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of...
I think it was an attempt to give him some culture, but it was 1992, and so they really didn't
know how to do it properly.
Super care about it. Which
was a weird move.
Right, and his brother's like, "Why are you wearing that Day of the Dead mask as Spider-Man?" And he's like, I know what you're talking about. So farewell, citizen.
Goodbye. I don't know you, Gabriel.
Gabriel, don't blow my cover, bro. Yeah, but Spider-Woman's suit is so good from Jump. And even when they they give her a Captain Marvel-esque glow up at one point in like 2016. Where they give her like a leather jacket and black pants and and like it's a good look. Don't get me wrong. I really
I've seen photos of that. That's cute. Yeah, the brown leather jacket's kind of short.
No, she has a red one. Let me quickly grab one for you.
Pictures in the Discord.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let me look.
Yeah. And like I really like this suit. I think it looks great.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I like
that
a lot.
That original suit is so strong that even this A look just that A+ look of her original suit. I don't know. Something about that original suit really...
It works.
It's hard to improve on perfection.
Superhero.
Yeah, right? I think that's part of what I like about it, is that it was classics. Like, Marvel Universe, I think, spends less time trying to justify that sort of stuff. And I think
it's not a woman in a bikini
trying
to fight. So
which... I do like the newer suit, because I do think it lends itself. Yeah, it lends itself to not being quite so...
And
skin tight.
She's going to be in the new Spider-Verse.
A version of her will be in the new Spider-Verse.
Do we know which version at all?
It seems to be
there are so many.
A pregnant black woman.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought that woman was a different character. She's going to be Spider-Woman. Okay. I like the idea of a pregnant superhero. Still like doing the superhero stuff. That's cool.
Yeah.
That was on your reading list, or Spider-Woman, Dennis Hopeless run.
Yeah.
Hopeless run, okay.
So she's pregnant, and she's still that one's more about how she's pregnant, but she's still gonna do her thing.
Do her thing. I got it. Yeah, I'll eventually get to it. I have limited amount of time.
She's one of the few. Comics. They don't introduce babies a lot in comics because babies grow so fast that it really shows that no time has passed if they still have a baby. You know, you're like, how long has this baby been? 3 months old? Because like comics and time,
they're probably also difficult to write. It's hard to write a baby.
The only thing you can do with a baby is put them in danger, and that's cheap writing. It's always cheap to put the kid in danger unless there's a really justified reason why the baby should be in danger, because you're just going for like the lowest emotional impact possible. Everyone who loves a kid in their life is going to automatically put their own child in that situation and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe, you know. Matt Fraction gave a whole talk about it when I was in my comic studies program.
You took a comic studies program?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
PSU offers, or offered when I was there, I don't know if they still do, a graduate program that offered a like 2-year certificate for comic studies. History of comics, blah blah blah. So I completed the course, but I was a undergrad at the time, so they told me they'd give me credit for it. You know, if I, as a graduate program, quote unquote. It got a little dicey. It's an infant year for the comic program. But I took a class with Brian Michael Bendis, who was the original writer of Miles.
Oh wow, that must have been amazing.
It was really, I learned so much in this course, and meeting and hearing from Brian Michael Bendis. We just called him Bendis in the class. We didn't have to refer to him as Brian Michael Bendis every time. It was really interesting to see Professor Bendis. And he brought in Matt Fraction. He brought in Kelly Sue.
Wow.
We talked to Mark Miller through that program. It was a really intense, really cool program. I don't know that all those people still have time to do all the things. I mean, they were Brian was so calling in, you know, some big favors to be like, hey, we want this program to work, so I need you to come and give a lecture in our class. I got an A in the class, but he never graded he perpetually would be like, okay, I'm going to get those grades to you guys soon. And then we would never receive grades for any of our projects. But it was an interesting insight into a lot of how comics work. He would do a lot of like, okay, now pitch me your comic. And we'd have to like give pitches of what we want to do with a comic or with a character or how we thought we could improve a character. He used a lot of the classes as workshops, if I'm honest.
That's fine.
That's fine. That's fine. But he talked a lot about, because he also made at the time it was called Alias. What's it called now? Just Jessica. Is it just called Jessica Jones now? Yeah.
He did Jessica Jones' stuff?
He did Jessica Jones.
Oh, okay.
He's the originator of a lot of those sort of things. He's the originator of Miles Morales. He's the originator of Jessica Jones.
I enjoyed that series.
Oh, that Derek's.
I like the actress they picked for that. I liked the Jessica Jones series. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it was a stronger one of the Netflix ones. I would say Daredevil was topsies, but Jessica Jones.
Oh, Daredevil was great.
Yeah,
Daredevil showing up also in No Way Home, and no one knows he's Daredevil was very
right.
Yeah.
What a cameo it was! I remember being in the theater. People were like, "Woo! Charlie's here!" You know, and him catching that brick.
Caught that brick. Yeah.
And Peter's like, "How'd you do that?" He's like, don't worry about it." And you're like, Peter, investigate this, Peter. But he doesn't because he's Peter. He's like, "That's not my business. Stay in your lane, Peter Parker."
He's too cute.
So Jessica Jones is actually a Watchmen situation where they wanted a different character for it, but then at the last second they're like, no, you can't do that with that character. So that's the reason why they're both named Jessica. It's because he was like, oh, but I've already written the script for this. We'll just call her Jessica something else.
Jessica's a common name. I mean, people are going to have the same name sometimes.
Certainly there's a million Steves in the Marvel universe. And plenty of Bobbies. What's one more Jessica?
What's another Jessica? Jessica Drew's powers are
all those basic spiders.
Regular spider stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Venom Blast is the extra.
Yeah.
And then she does not shoot webs.
Mm-mm.
And she glides, but it's, I think, the suit.
Well, sometimes she has.
Can she fly?
Sometimes she
has her
does
own?
legitimately just have flight, which is questionable.
Thankfully, spiders cannot fly. So
Thank goodness, spiders cannot fly.
We don't have to worry about that. Although
The
they do
other-
balloon.
Yeah,
Babies balloon. They'll
The other big power Jessica has is the hormones. She has
Oh,
the
pheromones.
Oh, sorry.
So
Pheromones.
hormones affect
Everyone
you.
has hormones.
Yeah,
Yes.
pheromones affect what's around you.
So she has the pheromones that she can use to differing effects. Mostly they seem to make men love her, which is such a man thing to write into a comic.
We use that clip. We use a clip of in our Spider-Man talk of her convincing the Hulk to make her a sandwich.
Make her a sandwich.
Which I love.
Hulk, make me a sandwich. But yeah,
and he's very happy to do it. So female spiders do emit pheromones which attract males. Some spiders actually emit pheromones that attract male moths, and then they eat them. Yeah, those are bolus spiders. So bolus spiders create this webbing that they can swing.
Yeah.
And then, kind of slap onto a moth and pull it over. It's pretty cool. But that all comes from pheromones.
So really Jessica Drew should be cowgirl themed, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Yes.
Can you imagine? She's swinging around town with a cowgirl hat on.
Little hat.
Oh, I always lose my hat when I'm swinging around town.
That would be the trope where she's every episode or every comic would be a new hat because she's constantly losing one.
She's costing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. millions in hat purchases every year.
Yeah, I forgot she had the pheromone power.
Yeah, she's got because it's like they try to justify that as like, well, Peter didn't have the pheromones because he's a boy.
Yeah,
when it's like,
does Spider-Gwen have it?
I haven't seen
her
ever use
so.
it. I wouldn't be surprised if she eventually gets it, but no, that seems to be a Jessica exclusive. Because again, I think Gwen just has Peter's powers. She plus her own innate I'm a ballerina, I'm a drummer, I am a girl who thinks with my brain instead of just jumping into a situation. Peter, I saw something recently.
She's common sense. Her superpower is common sense.
I think I put it in the Discord in our memes section that was like, Spider-Verse makes way more sense if you assume everyone connected to the Spider-Verse has one brain cell, and it's usually Gwen's turn to use it.
Yeah, I saw that. That was a very cute meme.
Yeah.
So I think we've covered. Yeah, we covered Miguel. We covered Miles.
Mm-hmm.
We covered a little bit of Gwen, right? And Spider-Woman.
It's just again, she doesn't really have alternative powers to Peter.
Yeah, she's just kind of there. Do we have anyone else that's going to be in the movie that we haven't talked about?
Oh, Mayday, but I think she has Peter Parker's powers again, and it's questionable whether how much she'll use them because she's a child. It looks like she's going to be a child in this version.
How old is she? She's little in this, right?
She's little. I think they say it's a 3-year time jump. Maybe it's less than that though. Maybe it's only 2.
Oh, okay.
So at most she's 2 because he went home at the end of Spider-Verse to make up with Mary Jane, and it takes 10 months to grow one. So, I assume, for all I know, Peter's got egg-laying powers, and he can.
Well, he's a male, so I hope not.
But they made Jessica a mom. Are spiders good moms?
Some spiders are good moms. Yeah. They will tend to the egg sac. They'll keep it clean. Wolf spiders will carry their babies around on their backs for a few weeks. They'll actually dip their legs down into a puddle so the babies can run down their legs, get a drink, and then go right back up again. Very sweet.
That's sweet.
If you spook a wolf spider with spiderlings on them, they'll all take off in multiple directions, but then she will gather them up afterwards and get them back on her back. So some spiders are very good moms.
This sounds like a video game that you have to care for your little babies. If they get knocked off your back, you have to go around and collect them.
Get them.
Like the eggs in Mario when you're Yoshi. You've got to get all the eggs. And
this is a children's book that I want to write someday.
We got to do it. We got to
do it. It'll be very cute. But yeah, I would say some spiders are pretty good mommies. So Jessica's going to do a good job. She'll be just fine.
So she could theoretically, I guess she doesn't use webs though. I want her to make a web papoose and carry it around on her back.
Very cute.
But yeah, she's one of the very few mom heroes. They really don't mom them up very often.
I think it's just hard to write. It's hard to write a compelling story that you have kids.
And I don't want to get into too much of the like marketing issues that come along with having characters that you need to sell well, regardless of whether it makes any sense. But like making a character a mom might dissuade some of your demographic from reading that book. And like having, lady heroes is already occasionally a demographics issue. Yeah. That's what I'll say about that. Demographics issue is what I'll say.
I'm not a mom. I have 2 cats, but they're not the same as having children. Would you?
In many ways similar, but not quite the same.
Yeah. You're a mom. Is that compelling to you as a mother, a mom superhero?
When it's done well, yes. The problem is a lot of times, the problem with most comics is, and why expanding your writing team is important, is because writing your experiences as a father and putting them onto a mother,
it's not going to work.
It can work in the general swipes, but there's some things that are about being a working mom. The pressures are just different. Pressures are just different.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm not trying to take away from fathers who are very involved, blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to take away from that at all. And Brian Michael Bendis, the original writer of Jessica Jones, talks about it a little bit. And when I was classmates, we talked about like trying to write what it's like to be a parent whose job takes them away a lot is, and not even to take them away, but is dangerous. That can be a compelling narrative. Do I quit this thing that's so important to me for the sake of my kids? That's not a question that's unique to superherodom. Do I stop doing this thing?
Yeah, I'm sure police officers have similar
police officers, even just people who run their own businesses.
In the military,
yeah.
Like
anyone who runs any sort of job where they're gone for a lot of the time is a similar question. I'm gone for 12 hours a day. I see my kid to wake them up in the morning and to kiss them goodnight and nothing in between. That's not.
Yeah. Or if you have a job that causes you to travel most of the time.
Yeah. And that sucks. To be away from your kids sucks. There's kind of the paradox of please, will you please go to sleep? Please go to sleep so I can hear myself think. And then when they're at nap, you miss them. You're like, oh,
really?
I haven't seen them. Yeah. This is a thing. Please go to sleep. Wake up. I miss you is like the documented thing.
Oh, wow. Do you think you would like that space a little bit? That's
the confusing part. Is that you want it so bad for them to go to sleep because you need that space. But at the same time, once they're gone, you want them there because you want them with you whenever possible.
I could see how this would be difficult to write into a comic.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance
and is it compelling when your demographic is up historically? Your demographic has been below 30.
Yeah, and male.
I mean, comics started when they first took off in the 30s. They were for everybody. They were for everybody. And there was no separation of demographics. But at the same time, stories weren't incredibly nuanced at the time.
Yeah, now it's a little different.
It's not till the 40s that you start getting things like, oh, these are comics for girls. These are romance comics. These are for girls. And then you get, oh, these are boy comics. Oh, these are kids comics. That wasn't really, those demographic things. And demographics, you should remember that demographics are primarily to stop you from competing with yourself.
Yeah.
If I sell things to girls and I sell things to boys, I don't want the girls to buy boy things because then it's less easy for me to sell them girl things. It's like a whole thing. It's like why Young Justice got the chop is because too many girls liked it. It's a whole thing. Yeah. Oh. Mm-hmm. That's why they canceled Young Justice, is because it was rating too well with young women. And
to chime in, it was specifically they were underwritten by a toy manufacturer who pulled out when they weren't getting enough sales because they didn't make any action figures of Artemis or whatever.
Right. And so because there was no push to make girls' toys, quote unquote, they were underselling to who they thought they would be selling toys to. So when they undersold toys,
should have
they
just
canceled
made
it.
the toys.
You'd think
Yeah,
the answer is, oh, people are enjoying my thing, but they want something else. Or they want more of my thing.
Yeah.
Let me make more of it. Yeah, it's crazy. It's like how in the most recent, not the most recent, but a recent Disney movie, Encanto, which I don't know if you saw at all.
I have not seen it, but I know people love it. I know people are
so
big into it.
Generational trauma, the movie. But they made a character who is the quintessential Disney princess, right? She's got the long flowing hair. She has flower powers. She's perfect. And her plot throughout the movie is that she feels so much pressure to be perfect that it's like breaking her. But she's got a sister, Louisa, who has superpowers in this form of strength. She can lift up houses. She can lift bridges. She piles donkeys on her shoulders. And the Disney execs anticipated that the flower character, the feminine girl, would be the popular character, so they made a ton of toys of Isabella. Then the movie drops, and the popular character is the strong sister who lifts up donkeys and houses.
Of course it is.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
And
that's
they
insane.
had no toys of her. They had no action figures. They had no Barbies. They had the only way you could get
I want to
Louisa.
lift up 3 donkeys on my shoulder, and I'm an adult. Yeah. Of course that's the popular character. She's got superpowers. Like cool superpowers.
Yeah, and like making flowers is cool, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but Louisa was the one that the girls wanted to replicate.
Yeah.
And the powers that be were like, what? And I was like, have you spoken to a
girl
lately? And that's just how I feel about a lot of like the female character books, is unless it's being written by someone who by a woman, but also, I mean, there's some types of men I think that can do it.
Yeah.
But
we're
we're
not digging on the men here.
Yeah,
but sometimes
I'm not trying to
really
say
need
you have to write in your
demographic,
because I actually don't think you have to write within your demographic. I don't think that ultimately creates spaces of good storytelling when you're like, oh, well, you can't write a Spider-Woman book because you're not a woman with spider powers, so you can't really relate to her. I don't think that actually works. But there's a reason why Kelly Sue DeConnick is the one who successfully rebooted Captain Marvel. And it was because she wrote Captain Marvel to be like Kelly Sue DeConnick.
That's what we need.
Listen, listeners, listen. You can get it wrong, and it's
totally
okay.
Fine.
As long as you are open to the people who know the right way correcting you. Like Peter Parker, you're going to get it wrong sometimes. And you need to be open to a more experienced hero coming in and saying, no, that's not how that's done. We don't do it like
Be a Peter, not a Miguel.
Correct. Be a Miles.
Be a Miles, yeah.
Be a Miles.
Sweet Miles.
Because I think one of the greater parts of, I mean, obviously Spider-Verse, one of the great moments is Peter passing on his spider power knowledge to Miles.
Oh, yeah.
As someone who had to figure it out all on his own. There was no Spider-Man to ask when Peter got spider powers.
Yeah, I love
him
Peter
being able
as
to turn
the mentor
around.
role.
Mm-hmm. The Peter B. Parker as like that dad father figure to Miguel, or not Miguel, to Miles is great. Yeah,
I like he's also constantly in a robe. It's a very dad move.
Very dad.
Peter's always in a robe now.
Daddies are in, as we were discussing the other day. Daddies are in.
Daddies are in.
Zaddy. So I'm really looking forward to Spider-Verse 2. I really enjoyed talking about it today. I will continue to read comics till I go cross-eyed like Kelly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Although that 90s run is a cruncher. If you have any recommendations of books we should definitely read before Spider-Verse 2 comes out, feel free to email us those recommendations or head over to the Reddit and recommend them there. And as always, you can send us emails about other stuff. Let us chat with you. We want to chat with you. We want to cover a tree. We want to cover a tree and webs and hang out with you. We'll bring snacks. Early. Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time. Bugs Need Heroes is created by Derek Conrad and Kelly Zimmerman. Hosted by Amanda Allen Nide and Kelly Zimmerman. Bugs Need Heroes is produced and edited by Derek Conrad. Our music is Ladybug Castle by Roll Music. All character art by Amanda Allen Nide. Got a bug question? Email us at bugsneedheroes@gmail.com. Check us out on bugsneedheroes.com for the visual companion to our episodes with the artwork of the bug-related heroes. We also have an Instagram, Twitter, and subreddit under the Bugs Need Heroes name. Thanks for coming by. One moment, I need to plug in my laptop, and then I'll come back and talk about Daddy some more.